All right, now that we have spent some time getting this attachment looking nice and clean, we're gonna go ahead and start pulling. So for pulling, a couple things that we wanna keep in mind is we wanna make sure that we're holding this in a way that allows us to rotate this as we pull, okay? So our hand is naturally gonna pull a certain way, and so we don't want that curve to be translated into this handle. So as you pull, essentially what you do is you do a few pulls, and then you'll rotate it, and do some pulls that way, rotate, pull. So the other thing we need to make sure we do is we need to make sure that this handle is nice and wet. Usually with the first few kind of touches with this handle piece here, I'm not actually applying any pressure, I'm just getting it wet, okay? So when I make my pulls, I wanna make sure to follow through with consistent pressure from my hand, okay? Excuse me. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do 2, 3, maybe 4 pulls, and then we're gonna rotate and re-wet our hand. 3, rotate, wet, 2, 3, rotate, wet, 1, 2, 3. And you're gonna do this over and over until you achieve the length that you need to get this second attachment to meet down here at the base. So however many pulls that is, that's how many pulls you need to do. And because I've done a lot of the hard work of shaping this to get that nice taper on the edge and down the length of the handle, I actually don't have as much work to do in this stage, which I prefer, because with this stage, I really just want to lengthen it and kind of tighten up that handle. You can see those little pulling marks there. They very closely resemble the marks that we naturally get from pulling a wall, okay? So I think I've got the length that I need now. And because this is so wet, we don't actually need to slip and score this side of the handle. We've already slip and scored this, but often it'll get a little dry while you're doing the pulling. So I like to just kind of, maybe even just get it a little wet, the serrated rib or your needle tool, and just kind of re-score that real quick. Now I'm gonna take and pull this down. It's best if you kind of clean and dry your hands a little bit. So with clean, dryish hands, cleanest, dryish hands, I'm gonna take and just kind of pull this down to see what that looks like. I think this is a little bit too long, so I'm gonna go ahead and take my needle tool, and I'm just gonna cut a little bit off. And now I think that's gonna be the right length for my handle. So I'm gonna bring it over and just kind of gently touch it. I don't know if you can see that. Just gonna kind of gently touch it to the piece. And now it's kind of stuck there, so I can take a look at it and make sure that it's level, make sure that the shape is looking kind of nice, and then we can come over and really take and press that into our slip and scored area there. And then we've got it, a little handle. Now, the last thing here, we definitely don't want to just throw this on the drying rack to let it dry in the classroom. We want to let this sit in a bag for 1, maybe 2 days. And the reason is we want to make sure that this really wet handle has time to catch up in its dryness to this really dry leather hard piece. So after you do all this work, let's not leave it out and have this handle crack and fall off because we didn't give it enough time